telling you, the brand thing. When you know your brand, when you know who you are as a person and who you can, that's it. You're set. After that, it's all about just creating that image of yourself to create a public. And then after that, it's literally just patience in the right things to go your way. It's like once you reach that point of like you did everything it's in your power, like you did everything in your power to create stuff, then you just have to be patient and wait for the right people to see it, honestly. And that's the process that we sometimes have trouble with, right? Waiting for the right thing to happen.
And that leads me perfectly into one of my questions for you, Carlos,
Hmm.
because I'm so curious. Did you always know, or how did you stumble upon that? Because as actors, like,
Yeah.
share a little bit about your journey, about how you discovered, what you, are calling your brand. Because as actors, we got to know our brand. That is part of
Yeah.
like our job. So tell me about your journey about that, because we all have this, path.
I think for me, how I discovered my brand, and this sounds, it was I grabbed everything that made me feel safe. I grabbed everything that made me feel like I was in a good place. When I was in high school, I was bullied, to the point of not having people around me. I was bullied to the point of coming home, and that was my safe place. Family was my safe place. Um, Bullying became such it really distracted me from everything I would love doing, because on a young age, when you get bullied by whoever you thought was your friends, it could be really traumatic, and it could be really, you can lose sense of yourself. So that happened to me. I didn't know who I was for like a couple years. I didn't have any friends that would talk to me or anything. So then I started kind of going into my own thing, which was loneliness. Like I started kind of going move towards like on breaks or in school, I would do stuff myself. I would always hang out with myself, and I was just finding ways of like having fun with myself. And that's how I discovered the first thing that made me feel safe, which was video games. Because with video games, I didn't need anybody to have fun with. All I needed was my controller and the screen. And that's how I was able to find my first thing that became part of my brand later on. But I found out that gaming was a place where I felt comfortable, I felt safe, and I felt myself. Then theater came along. This was when I was finally about to end school, and I had somebody. Okay, so this is like a long story, so I'm gonna try to shorten it a little bit so that you get the idea. But it really feels like it's out of a movie. When I was going through all of this and I was spending time alone, um, this guy called Gabriel, he came from Australia as an exchange student for a year, for a full year. And he immediately became best friends with me. And this was the first time I felt like I had a real friend and I had someone that I could trust. And he's the one that started taking me to parties. He started me believing in who I was. He started like changing me. He was like, "Hey, you're cool, you're funny. Like, stop hanging out by yourself. Let's do stuff together." So he's the one that kind of made me socialize again and made me believe in who I was. And then at the same time, he would put me on theater plays because there were like auditions for the theater plays, and he would push me to do them. He was like, "You should like just go for it." And I love doing them, and that's why he kept pushing me on it. And then before he left to Australia, he said, "You should do this for a living, man. Like you should you should really chase this." And I was like, "Nah," because I was in Peru in a small town. My father had a business. I was like, "I'm just gonna focus on that." And then when my friend came to Australia again, he died on a car accident. So yeah, he passed away. And after that, that was the year after he moved back, and I was completely broken for like the longest. And then I remember his words, and this is not a joke, not lying or dramatizing things. I remember I was in class, um 2 days after I heard the news, and I couldn't focus. And his words came to head, and I was like, "You should chase this. You should really go for it." And I left everything in Peru. That day, I was like, "You know what? I'm going back to. I'm studying this. I'm gonna do this for him, not only for me anymore." So I decided to really get into acting, and I started, traveling, doing my research, and I ended up in LA, living the dream. So I'm living this not only for myself but for him as well, because I think it comes from that. And then theater became my second part. All of that story made my theater and acting become part of who I am. So that added with gaming, started creating this whole thing of comfort zone, right? That somehow connects with my inner child so well, because like I enjoy shows that are not fit for my age. Like I love the Muppets. I love Broadway. I love Disney. I'm a huge Disney fan. So, everything just kind of started connecting after a while. And it built this brand. It built who I am today and where I feel comfortable. And a lot of people don't like it. You always get the people that are like, grow up. It's time to. But at the same time, it really did help me build this community of people that feel like that it's like, I can be a grown up, but I can still love these things, and I can really, and that's, it was such a long answer to your question, but
But it was like the most beautiful thing. Like you took me on a ride. First and
yeah,
foremost, I'm so sorry because that must have been devastating when that happened.
yeah, yeah,
And the way you've been able to not only celebrate your path,
hmm,
but celebrate him and
yeah,
live for both of you. That to me was so touching. It was so
hmm,
heartwarming. It was so um, impressionable because you didn't let something so devastating devastate you. Although you had to
yeah,
go through your grieving process, of course,
I
that's
did.
a natural
Hmm,
part of
hmm,
the process. But I
hmm,
just love that you're like, nah, uh-uh. If it's only one of us who gets this opportunity, I'm
yeah,
gonna do it for both of us. And that,
quite, yeah, it became like that. It really did become pass the torch. He when he came to Peru from Australia, he taught me everything I knew. He was such a free soul. He was like,
mm,
you should never like believe in what people tell you. He really rebuilt me, because after I went through bullying, I was down, and he's the one that got me up. He was like, hey, we got this, man. Like, forget about what they say. Like, we got this together. And then he died being a free soul. He died, and up to this day I stay in touch with his family, because I never got to meet them, but I do want to meet them at some point. I know that's going to be an emotional encounter because of how much we connected, even though we've never seen each other. But yeah, I did. I think that's what we all got to do, and I'm sure you've done it at some point too. And I would love to hear about it, because I think we all grab those moments that are supposed to destroy us, are supposed to, make us not, those downs. And especially in our careers, we go through so many no's, we go through so many, um you know
no,
sometimes hate. You go through so much people telling you, hey, it's not worth. You go through the whole snap of back to reality, where like you find yourself in the same room with 20 people that look exactly like you, right? So it really does. It's a career that you need to love, and you need to really have the patience for it. um and you got to grab those moments. In my opinion, the reason I'm here today is because that happened. The reason I'm here today is because, um I listened to him. I decided to use his words and put them up there for good. So I think that's the whole point that we should do. We should grab the things that are supposed to break us and make us cry, the things that are supposed to make us change who we are, and really make them different, like change them towards our goals, and like build them, make us grow. And I think that's what happened there. I Up to this day, I have him. Every time I book something, I look up to the sky and I'm like, this is for you, just like it is for me. And I think he's with me every part of the way. And I think that's part of like the whole, I want to say, he helps me when I'm feeling down, because I feel like, this career takes you to that roller coaster of emotion. So I think you got to look up to something. You gotta put, it sounds crazy, but you really gotta do it for, you realize that you gotta do it for other people. Like for you, for example, you now have a partner in your life that you have to look out for. So you stop this career, these choices stop being about yourself, and they become something about completely different. They become like a union. Like, I'm doing this for both of us. I'm doing this for everybody around me, for my family, for the people that were there from the start.
Wow, you get me left and right, Carlos. I was not expecting this to be emotional for me. I mean, it is bonkers. I think from the minute you start to share your story and your reality and your, your past experiences, I connected to it so deeply because, you spoke about bullying, and
Yeah.
that was such a harsh reality, in my life as well. And
No.
there were so many moments where, my bullying was a little different though, which
Uh-huh.
if we can just take a moment and talk about bullying, because I think it's such a big conversation that needs to
Yeah.
happen, and whether it's, in-person bullying or cyberbullying, throughout this last year, where
Mm-hmm.
there weren't in person schools or whatever to perpetuate that. But I think that bullying, so many of us have undergone some level of it, whether it's, you're the popular kid and all of a sudden somebody spreads a rumor that's not true, and then all of a sudden everybody starts bullying you.
Yeah.
Which I experienced some of that. My bullying was, I had a guy bully, a boy bully.
We got drama, we got pain, we got envy, we got love. Whatever you're going through, we encapsulate it like a drug. Send it back in the form of love like it's gifted from God above. Merging ideas and working together fit like a glove. Yeah, I'm working, for God above, I'm thirsty.